You know the difference between a handyman and a guy who owns some tools. A guy who owns some tools has a drill, a hammer, and a set of screwdrivers in a bag somewhere in the garage. He can hang a picture, he can assemble furniture from a box, and when something actually breaks, he calls someone. A real handyman walks into any situation in any house with any problem and handles it. Not because he is smarter, not because he went to trade school, because he has the right tools, he knows how to use them, and he has built the kind of kit that covers every trade: plumbing, electrical, carpentry, drywall, tile, painting, HVAC, concrete, without gaps. This video is the complete blueprint for that kit. Every tool, every category, every reason it belongs. If you already have most of this, you are going to feel good about where you are. If you are missing pieces, you are going to know exactly what to get next. Let us build the kit. The first thing a real handyman understands is that trade tools are different from homeowner tools. Homeowner tools are built for occasional use, a few weekends a year, light loads, controlled conditions. Trade tools are built to work every day in every condition under real load for years without failure. The price difference between a homeowner grade and a trade grade tool reflects this. A homeowner drill runs $80 and lasts 5 years of occasional use. A trade drill runs $220 and lasts 10 years of daily use. For someone who uses these tools constantly, the trade version is cheaper per use over its lifetime. This video is about building the trade grade kit, the tools that professionals reach for in the versions that professionals buy at price points that are real and justified. Category 1. The core fastening and driving kit. Every trade uses fasteners. Every job involves driving, removing, or manipulating fasteners of some kind. The fastening kit is the foundation everything else builds on. A brushless cordless drill driver, trade grade. Milwaukee M18. Fuel 2803, DeWalt 20 volt, Max XR DCD 800 or Makita XFD 14. The distinction between these and homeowner-grade drills is the brushless motor, the all-metal chuck, and the clutch resolution. A trade clutch has more settings, more precisely calibrated, so you can dial in exactly the torque you need for a specific application without guesswork. A trade drill runs a $180 to $220 tool only. It drives screws into concrete anchors, metal studs, hardwood framing, and composite decking all day without heat buildup or power fade. This is the tool in your hand more than any other. Buy it once. A cordless impact driver, trade grade, same platform as the drill, Milwaukee M18. Fuel 2853, DeWalt DCF887, Makita XDT16. The key specification for a trade impact driver is the torque output, 1,800 to 2,000 in-pounds for the top models. This level of torque drives 5-inch structural screws, lag bolts, and carriage bolts that a homeowner impact driver struggles with. The multi-speed trigger on a trade impact driver also gives you fine control at low speed for precise fastener seating. Important when you are driving screws into finished surfaces where a blown-out head or a countersunk fastener that goes too deep is visible and costs time to fix. Trade impact driver, $160 to $200 tool only. A right-angle drill. This is the tool that solves the single most common access problem in trade work. Drilling in tight spaces where a standard drill cannot fit. Between studs and an existing wall for running wire. Inside a cabinet for plumbing rough-in. In the corner of a joist bay, under a sink, inside an electrical panel enclosure. A right-angle drill fits a 4-inch clearance that a standard drill needs 12 inches for. Milwaukee M18. Fuel right-angle drill 2808 or DeWalt DCD-7. 4.0 in your platform, $100 to $140 tool only. Once you do your first wire-running job in an existing wall, you understand why professionals consider this tool non-negotiable. A cordless hammer drill or combination drill. For anchor installation, the #1 masonry task in trade work. Every TV mount goes into concrete in a condo. Every shelf bracket goes into a brick wall in an older home. Every threshold anchor goes into a concrete slab. A combination tool in your platform that switches between drill, screwdriver, and hammer. Drill Modes covers all three functions and saves carrying a dedicated hammer drill for jobs that require only occasional masonry penetration. For heavy masonry work, running conduit through a concrete block wall, coring through a foundation, add a dedicated SDS-Plus rotary hammer in your platform or corded from Bosch or Hilti. A screw gun, also called a drywall screwdriver. This is not a drill. This is a dedicated tool for driving drywall screws to a precise, consistent depth without breaking through the paper facing. It has a nosepiece that stops the screw exactly flush with or slightly dimpled below the surface, the exact depth required for drywall finishing. A screw gun drives drywall screws 3 times faster than a drill with a bit because the depth stop makes every single screw the same without any thought or adjustment between screws. If you hang drywall, and every handyman eventually hangs drywall, a screw gun is mandatory. DeWalt DW25T7 or Milwaukee 674-220 runs $50 to $90 corded, slightly more cordless. It seems like a single-purpose tool. It is, and that purpose comes up constantly. A set of power bits, not the cheap ones that strip out after 20 screws. Wera, Weha, or Apex, the German and American professional brands. A Wera bit check set covers every drive type you encounter. Phillips in all 4 sizes, flathead, Torx from T-Desit through T-Sorok, Square Robertson, Hex, Torx Plus, Posidrive. Professional bits are manufactured to tighter tolerances than consumer bits, which means they fit fastener heads without the slop that causes cam out. Cam out, the bit slipping out of the fastener head, is not just annoying. It damages fastener heads, damages surrounding surfaces, and strips the fastener so it cannot be removed without an extractor. A Wera bit set costs $20 to $45. The bits last 10 times longer than cheap bits and produce 0 cam out on properly engaged fasteners. Category 2. The cutting kit for trade work. A cordless circular saw, trade grade. 7 1/4 inch in your platform, brushless with blade break. The specifications that matter for trade use are the arbor size, 5/8 inch for standard blades, the bevel capacity, 56 to 57 degrees for cutting compound bevels in a single pass, and the footplate material. A die-cast aluminum footplate stays flat under the abuse of daily use. A stamped steel plate warps. A warped footplate produces inconsistent cut depth and inaccurate bevel angles. Milwaukee 2.830, DeWalt DCS-578, or Makita XSS-02, $110 to $150 tool only. A reciprocating saw, trade grade, the workhorse demolition and renovation tool. In trade work, a reciprocating saw runs for hours, cutting existing structure, removing old pipes, demo work before renovation begins. The Milwaukee Sawzall 2.722 or DeWalt DCS 3.8 in the fuel or FlexVolt line handles sustained use without motor heat that causes the tool to pause for cooling. Variable stroke length, the ability to select between short orbital strokes for control and long full strokes for speed, is a trade feature that homeowner models often lack. Trade reciprocating saw, $110 to $160 tool only. An oscillating multi-tool, trade grade. We covered this in the DIY kit video, but it belongs in the trade kit with even more emphasis. In trade work, the oscillating tool is used on almost every job, undercutting door casings for flooring, cutting out damaged drywall sections, removing grout for tile repair, flush cutting pipes and fasteners, scraping adhesive. The Fine Multimaster is the original and still considered the gold standard for blade system compatibility and motor quality, $240 to $300. Milwaukee M. 18. Fuel Multi-Tool, 2.836, and DeWalt DCS 3.5 are the top cordless performers at $110 to $160 tool only. The blade system matters. Buy a universal adapter that accepts all oscillating blade brands, because specific jobs require specific blade profiles, and you want access to every manufacturer's blade catalog. A cordless jigsaw and a track saw. The track saw is the trade tool for cutting sheet goods, plywood, MDF, cement board, large format tile, to exact dimensions in the field without a table saw. A track saw and its guide rail produce a cut quality equal to a table saw in a package that works anywhere, on sawhorses in a parking lot, on the floor of a job site, in a tight renovation space. Festool TS-55 is the gold standard at $500 to $700. Makita SP600J. Adin provides excellent performance at $180 to $250 with rail. For a serious handyman who installs flooring, builds custom cabinetry on site, or works with large sheet goods regularly, the track saw replaces the need for a job site table saw in many situations. Category 3. The measuring and layout kit, the category that determines the quality of every finished job. A laser distance measurer. Bosch GLM 400 CL or Leica Disto D2. This tool replaces a tape measure for room measurement. You point it at a wall and it gives you the distance to the 1/10 of an inch, instantly from across the room without an assistant. It calculates area and volume automatically. It stores multiple measurements for estimating material quantities, flooring square footage, paint gallons, drywall sheets. A laser distance measurer eliminates measurement error and works solo in any size space. A quality unit costs $40 to $100. A handyman who charges for their time recovers the cost in the first hour of use. A self-leveling rotating laser level, not just a cross-line laser, a full rotating laser that projects a level plane around the entire room simultaneously. For setting a consistent level reference around a room for installing crown molding, chair rail, wainscoting, cabinets, or suspended ceilings, a rotating laser eliminates the stepping, re-leveling, and pencil line marking that a cross-line laser requires. You set it in the center of the room, it self-levels, and the beam marks every wall at the same height simultaneously. A Bosch GRL 820 HVAC or DeWalt DW0 SEM9 LG runs $150 to $300. A cross-line laser at $40 to $80 handles most tasks. A rotating laser handles large space and high-precision layout at a level above it. A digital level, torpedo size, and 48-inch. The digital readout gives you the exact angle in degrees and tenths, not just a bubble that indicates level or not level. For setting a slope, a shower pan must slope 1/4 inch per foot toward the drain. A toilet flange must be level. A windowsill must be slightly sloped outward for drainage. A digital level shows you the exact slope, so you hit the spec precisely. Mecklenburg Duncan or Empire digital levels run $20 to $45. A stud finder, the professional version, not a basic magnetic stud finder. A professional multi-sensor unit like the Franklin Pro Sensor M SDS-Plus or Zircon Multiscanner A2 that uses wide sensor array technology to locate stud edges precisely and simultaneously detects AC wiring, metal pipe, and rebar. In trade work, you need to know not just where the stud is, but what else is in the wall. A professional stud finder costs $35 to $65 and eliminates the false readings that cheap units produce constantly. Category 4. The plumbing kit. In trade work, plumbing comes up constantly, replacing fixtures, clearing drains, running new supply lines, fixing leaks, installing appliances. The handyman who can handle basic plumbing doubles the value they provide, versus one who has to refer every plumbing task to a licensed plumber. A pipe cutter set, 1/4 inch through 2 inch. Rigid or Milwaukee pipe cutters use a hardened cutting wheel that rolls around the pipe and produces a clean square cut with no burrs in seconds. For copper, you need a sharp wheel without the chamfering edge. For PEX, a ratcheting PEX cutter produces a clean square cut that ensures the full bore of the pipe seats against the fitting stop. A set of pipe cutters covering copper, PICA, and CPVC runs $25 to $50. A propane torch kit with MAP gas option. Burnzomatic TS-80 is the professional standard. It accepts both propane and MAP gas, reaches higher temperatures faster, and handles both small copper joint soldering and the higher heat applications that standard propane struggles with. A plumber who sweats joints all day uses MAP because it cuts torch time in half. The torch head runs $25 to $45. MAP gas cylinders cost $8 to $12 each. The ability to sweat copper joints is the skill that separates a handyman from an electrician with a pipe wrench. It is learnable, it is permanent, and the first dozen joints you practice before using it in a real situation costs you a length of copper pipe and an afternoon. A toilet rebuild kit with wax ring, supply line, and shut-off valve. Toilets are the single most common plumbing service call in residential work. A leaking toilet base, wax ring failure, a running toilet, fill valve or flapper, a toilet that rocks, corroded bolts or a soft subfloor, a toilet that will not flush adequately, blocked jet holes or low flush pressure. A complete toilet rebuild using new fill valve, new flapper, new wax ring, new supply line, and new shutoff valve costs $20 to $45 in materials and takes an hour. A plumber charges $200 to $300 for the same job. Keep the components in your kit: a hand auger and a drum auger. The hand auger, 25 feet of cable on a pistol grip drum, handles sink and tub clogs that a plunger cannot clear. The drum auger, 50 to 100 feet of heavier cable on a rotating drum, either hand-cranked or drill-powered, handles mainline clogs and clogs in the larger drain lines between fixture and stack. A hand auger from Rigid costs $25 to $45. A drill-powered drum auger costs $40 to $80. Together they handle 95% of drain clogs in residential work. The 5% they do not handle require a jetter or a camera inspection. A plunger, both cup style and flange style. The cup plunger works on flat surfaces, sinks and tubs. The flange plunger seals inside the toilet drain opening and produces the direct hydraulic pressure needed to clear toilet clogs. Two different tools for two different applications, both together, $10 to $15. Basic, Essential, Category 5, the electrical kit. A real handyman can do basic electrical work safely and legally in most jurisdictions. Replacing outlets and switches, installing ceiling fans and light fixtures, running new circuits in accessible spaces, adding outlets, installing dimmer switches and smart switches. The electrical kit that enables this work is not large and not expensive, but every component matters for safety. A non-contact voltage tester, always, every time, before touching any wire. Klein CL 110 or Flukadin ACA Odin 2. We have said this before, and we will keep saying it. The cost of not having it and not using it is measured in consequences, not dollars. A multimeter, digital, auto-ranging. Fluksto 17 is the professional electrician's standard general-purpose multimeter. It measures AC and DC voltage, current, resistance, continuity, capacitance, and frequency. It has a non-contact voltage detection mode built in. It auto-ranges, selects the appropriate measurement range automatically, which eliminates the possibility of damaging the meter by selecting the wrong range manually. A Fluksto 17 costs $150 to $175. A Klein MM600 or Ideal 61-310 provides comparable functionality at $60 to $100. For a handyman doing electrical work, a quality multimeter is a safety and diagnostic tool, not optional. A circuit tracer. For quickly identifying which breaker controls a circuit without running back and forth to the panel. A transmitter plugs into the outlet. The receiver identifies the correct breaker in seconds. An Ideal 6-5-3-4 or Greenlee CS 8000 runs $45 to $100. In a service call situation where you need to identify and kill the correct circuit before starting work, a circuit tracer pays for itself in the first hour. Wire strippers, Klein J 228. Cable ripper for quickly stripping the outer jacket from Romex and other multi-conductor cable. A cable ripper runs the blade along the cable and opens the jacket without nicking the individual conductors inside. $2 at any electrical supply house, worth keeping a dozen in the kit. A voltage drop tester and outlet tester. An outlet tester, 3 lights, $15, tells you instantly whether an outlet is correctly wired, has a reversed polarity, has an open ground, or has a faulty GFCI connection. You plug it in and read the light pattern. Every outlet in a house can be checked in minutes. This is the tool home inspectors use to flag electrical deficiencies. It is also the tool that tells you, before you do any work, whether there's an existing problem that needs to be addressed. Electrical tape in multiple colors, black for insulation, red for identifying high-voltage conductors, white for identifying neutral conductors when using black wire as neutral in switch loops, green for ground identification, yellow for identification of circuits operating at lower voltages. A professional uses colored tape to communicate to the next person what a conductor is doing. It is a communication tool as much as an insulation tool. Category 6. The drywall and finishing kit. Drywall work is the most common interior finish task in trade work. New construction rough-in patches, renovation damage repair, basement finishing, room additions. The ability to hang, tape, mud, and finish drywall to a paintable surface is one of the most valuable skills in the handyman's toolkit because it appears on nearly every interior job. A drywall lift. For ceiling drywall installation, a drywall lift is the difference between needing 3 people and needing 1. The lift holds the sheet against the ceiling while you drive screws. Both hands free, no holding sheets overhead while trying to drive fasteners. A drywall lift rental at a hardware store costs $20 to $30 per day. Owning one costs $150 to $200. If you do more than 2 ceiling drywall jobs per year, ownership pays. A drywall router. A cutout tool with a drywall bit that plunges through the sheet and routes around electrical boxes and light fixtures. You hang the sheet over the outlet locations and let the router find them from the front face. The result is a precise cutout in seconds. Without a drywall router, you mark outlet locations from the back of the sheet, transfer the marks, and cut with a jab saw. Slower and less accurate. A drywall router costs $40 to $70 tool only in a corded version from Rotary or Dremel. A complete mud set. 6-inch, 10-inch, and 12-inch drywall knives for flat taping and finishing coats, a corner knife for inside corners, a corner bead crimper for metal bead installation, a mud pump, a hopper tool that loads joint compound directly onto the knife from a large bucket rather than loading from a mud pan repeatedly. A mud pump is a production tool that is unnecessary for 1 or 2 rooms, but dramatically speeds up any job involving significant square footage. Drywall knife sets cost $15 to $35. A mud pump costs $40 to $90. Sandpaper and drywall sanding screens. 100 grit sanding screens on a pole sander for knocking down high spots in dried mud. 150 grit for general surface preparation. 220 for final smoothing before primer. Sanding screens rather than paper. The open mesh structure resists loading with drywall dust far longer than closed-face sandpaper, which clogs and loses cutting ability within a few passes. A texture sprayer or hopper gun for matching existing textures. Orange peel, knockdown, skip trowel, the 3 most common residential wall textures in America, are applied with a hopper gun fed from an air compressor. Matching existing texture is one of the most difficult skills in drywall finishing, but the tool that makes it possible is a hopper gun and the right air pressure. A hopper gun costs $15 to $35. The skill comes from practice on scrapboard before committing to the wall. A handyman who can match texture invisibly commands higher rates than one who leaves visible patches. Category 7. The tile kit. Tile work, bathroom tile repair, floor tile installation, backsplash, shower surrounds is one of the most requested and highest value handyman services. The tools required are specific, and the investment is modest relative to the value of the work. A wet tile saw. A 10-inch wet saw with a diamond blade produces cuts in ceramic, porcelain, marble, and glass tile that no other tool approaches for precision and chip-free edges. A cheap dry-cut tile saw produces cracked and chipped edges. A quality wet saw keeps the blade and tile wet during the cut, eliminating heat and producing clean edges. A QEP 226 Q or MK diamond, MK Odin Semnol runs $150 to $250. A tile job without a wet saw is a tile job with broken tiles, ugly edges, and callbacks. A wet saw is mandatory. Notched trowels in multiple sizes. The size of the trowel notch determines the thickness of the mortar bed, which determines the coverage under the tile. A 1/4-inch V-notch for mosaic and small tile. A 3/16 U-notch for wall tile up to 4 inches. A 1/4-inch square notch for standard floor tile. A 1/2-inch square notch for large format tile and stone. Using the wrong trowel produces either insufficient coverage, the tile has voids under it and cracks under load, or excess coverage that squeezes out between tiles and prevents proper grout joints. A set of trowels covering all 4 sizes costs $15 to $30. A tile spacer set. 1/16, 1/8, and 3/16-inch plastic tile spacers that hold consistent grout joint width during installation before the mortar sets. Without spacers, grout joints wander and the finished tile surface looks amateur. A bag of 500 spacers in each size costs $3 to $6. Use them on every tile job. A rubber grout float and a grout sponge set. The grout float forces grout into the joints at a 45-degree angle while removing excess from the tile face. The grout sponge, kept in clean water and wrung nearly dry, removes grout haze from the tile face after the grout begins to set. 2 sponges in rotation, one washing the tile, one rinsing in the bucket, keeps clean water on the surface at all times. A float costs $8 to $15. A quality grout sponge costs $4 to $8. Buy several. A tile drill bit set, diamond-tipped hole saws for drilling through porcelain and ceramic tile without cracking it. Common sizes, 1/2 inch for screw anchors, 1 inch for pipe penetrations, 3 inch for toilet and shower fixture rough ends. Diamond hole saws run $5 to $20 per bit depending on size. Use a guide template to keep the bit from wandering on the glazed surface for the first 1/4 inch of the cut. Category 8. The painting and finishing kit for trade work. A trade painter moves faster, produces better results, and wastes less material than a homeowner with a brush and a roller. The tool difference between them is significant. A professional airless sprayer. Graco Mark 4 or Graco 390, the machines that professional painters use. Not the homeowner-grade Graco Magnum X SEM. A professional airless sprayer delivers a consistent fan pattern at higher pressure, handles thicker materials without thinning, recovers from tip clogs faster, and runs for hours without motor fatigue. A Graco 390 runs $400 to $600. For a handyman who does volume painting work, the production speed of a professional sprayer versus a homeowner unit is significant. A room that takes 2 hours to spray with a homeowner unit takes 45 minutes with a professional machine. A pole extension for rollers, 6 to 12-foot reach, for ceilings and tall walls without a ladder on flat surfaces. A quality extension pole with a threaded end that accepts standard roller frames costs $15 to $30. Every painting job benefits from a pole because it maintains consistent pressure across the roller nap and eliminates the step-by-step ladder movement that causes paint lines. A 5-gallon bucket with a bucket screen rather than a roller tray. Pour paint into the 5-gallon bucket, clip the screen inside, load the roller by rolling it against the screen. This system holds more paint, requires fewer refills, and produces more consistent loading than a roller tray. A bucket screen costs $2 to $4. The 5-gallon bucket you buy the paint in becomes the loading system. A caulking gun, both standard and electric. A standard ratchet-type caulking gun handles most caulking applications. An electric or battery-powered caulking gun, Milwaukee or DeWalt in your platform, dispenses caulk at a consistent flow rate with no ratchet skip, which produces smoother, more even beads on long runs. For a handyman doing significant caulking volume, bathroom surrounds, exterior joints, gap filling before painting, an electric caulking gun reduces hand fatigue and improves consistency. Electric caulking guns run $40 to $70. Standard guns run $8 to $20. Own both. Category 9. The HVAC and weatherization kit. HVAC work at the handyman level covers the tasks that do not require a licensed HVAC technician, changing filters, cleaning coils, sealing ducts, improving weatherization, and diagnosing basic system performance issues. A duct sealing kit, mastic sealant, foil tape, and a brush applicator. Leaking ductwork in a forced air HVAC system is one of the highest impact energy efficiency improvements in residential work. The average American home loses 20 to 30% of conditioned air through duct leaks before it reaches the living space. Sealing ducts with mastic, the code-compliant method in most jurisdictions, and foil tape on accessible connections significantly reduces this loss. Mastic costs $15 to $25 per gallon. Foil tape, not standard duct tape, which fails in heat, costs $8 to $15 per roll. A digital manometer for measuring static pressure in ductwork. This is a professional diagnostic tool that tells you whether an HVAC system is operating within design parameters. Static pressure that is too high indicates restriction. Undersized ducts, dirty coils, undersized filter. Too low indicates leakage or an oversized system. A digital manometer with pitot tube runs $40 to $100. For a handyman who does any HVAC work, the ability to measure static pressure provides diagnostic credibility and identifies problems that would otherwise require a technician's visit to diagnose. A combustion analyzer for gas appliance tuning. For furnaces, water heaters, and gas ranges, a combustion analyzer measures oxygen, carbon dioxide, and carbon monoxide levels in the flue gas to determine whether combustion is complete and efficient. Incomplete combustion wastes fuel and produces carbon monoxide. A combustion analyzer costs $100 to $250 for a professional unit. This is a tool for the handyman who services gas appliances, verifying burner performance after cleaning, checking for CO production that indicates a cracked heat exchanger. A thermal imaging camera. This is the single most impressive diagnostic tool a handyman can own, and the one that most clearly communicates value to a customer. Point a thermal camera at a wall, and you see exactly where the insulation is missing, where air is infiltrating, where moisture is hiding behind the surface. Point it at an electrical panel, and you see which breaker is running hot. Point it at a HVAC system, and you see which ducts are delivering conditioned air and which are dead. A FLIR CPAT or FLIR 1 Pro runs $300 to $500. A handyman with a thermal camera charges more, finds problems faster, and provides documentation, the thermal image that justifies the diagnosis to the customer. It is the highest credibility tool in the kit. Let us close by talking about the kit as a business asset. A real handyman's toolkit is not a personal collection. It is a business investment with a measurable return. Every tool in this kit enables work that generates revenue. The Milwaukee M18 fuel drill at $200 enables fastening work that bills at $75 to $150 an hour. The wet tile saw at $250 enables tile jobs that bill at $50 to $120 per hour, plus materials. The thermal camera at $400 enables diagnostic work that commands a premium and provides documentation that justifies the finding. Total investment in this complete trade kit across all categories runs between $4,000 and $7,000 for quality professional-grade equipment. A handyman working 40 hours a week at $60 to $100 an hour generates $240,000 to $400,000 per year in revenue.